What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah. And today, Azriela is my extra. God is my extra. Andy, Bishop, Josiah, Shelly, Justin, Jen, Julie, Blaine. They're all my extra. And I am the ordinary. Oh, fam. Today is the last time that I get to spend in my Crawlspace here at the address of 137 Gina Circle, Unit B. We just purchased a place at 2615 Park Creek Avenue. And it's the first time that I've owned my own house. So moving from a house has been such a blessing. We're going to add Trey and Kara to the extra of today. So many people. Charla, my wife, has been so incredible to organize and facilitate this move. Oh my goodness, that woman has worked so hard and has been so faithful to coordinate the transition from this space to the next. There's just so much extra to be found. But one era in a space is ending, and I'm transitioning over to a new space. And as I think about all of the provision, the plans of God to orchestrate this move down to details that are beyond my ability to invite you into at this time. But that seeing all of this move and prosperity has primarily got kicked off through my daughter, Azriela. Back when we first had Azriela, my wife and I moved to Bozeman. Charlotte was doing nursing. I was working at a coffee shop, and life was so idyllic. We got to play pretty much in our jobs, and we would hike numerous times a week, and I would get out to run almost every night and had days off where I would just spend the whole day at a coffee shop writing and praying. And Charlotte would be at work, and then I would merge back home and she would get off of work, and we'd have dinner together. And life seemed so simple. It was so fun. There was so much recreating going on, and there was so little responsibility. And I remember when Azriela was born, I began to shift into a career of real estate. And I was studying for my real estate exam. I was home with Azriela. She was just a little girl. And she was having such a hard day one day and was crying, was upset. While I was doing my real estate hours online for school, I was trying to focus on it. I was so frustrated that I couldn't just give all of my attention to doing my online school, and that Azriela wouldn't be quiet. And I was sitting with her by the side patio door out onto our patio. And this thought flashed across my dashboard that was frustrated and selfish. The thought was that my life was so much better and so much easier before Azriela came, that she interrupted my life. I wasn't having as much fun, and a lot of resentment cropped up in my heart towards her. Right on the heels of that thought, though, Spirit came in to convince and to convict me, to lead me into all truth. He spoke to me and said, "Your daughter has not ruined your life. Your daughter has not made your life worse. Your daughter has drawn you out into a higher earning capacity and to call you to your true potential, and that you would stop hiding in laziness at the coffee shop." It was such a firm exhortation. It was such a good word, and it transformed my mindset into seeing my daughter, rather than being a wet blanket and a boat anchor that she was fuel to the fire of my destiny in God, and that she was the goad on my backside to get me out of my comfort zone and into the unknown where Jesus was. As a result of that, pressing forward through many hard years of real estate practice and getting my business up and running, that this year in 2020, my 40th year, has been my best year. That the prophecy of my brother given to me so many years ago, that my 40th year would be my greatest year in business, that God has confirmed this. This is the most provision that I've ever received from God in the marketplace of ministry that I've ever had in my entire life. His abundance has been so beautiful to receive, and it confirms the word of the Lord through my brother prophesied to me from years before, clear back to like 2000 and probably 11, 2012, but now confirmed here in 2020. And as a result of that provision, God's blessing to my life, that we've now had the funds, the resources to be able to move from a place that we've rented to a place that we have purchased. Not only so, but the place that we've moved to is so perfect for our family. It feels so good. It just meets our heart's desires, and we feel comfortable within it. It feels like a place to be able to breathe our desires and passions for home into. As a result of that, though, God is transitioning me in a season from living in a home that has been rented from my friends Kara and Trey, that has a crawl space, to a house that I own that does not have a crawl space. That in this space that God has invited me into a crawl space, that in this space of crawling with him in the darkness down below this house's structures. It's been a time period where I've prayed into the foundations of the church, prayed into the foundations of my life, prayed into the foundational truths of life in him. That Christ himself is our foundation, that he's the cornerstone. And it's been this invitation into pressing into him and asking that he would transform my heart. That if you enter into prayer and you come out of it and you haven't been changed, you weren't praying, you were complaining. God ministering to my heart, taking me from a place of complaint, complaining against him, starting on November 7th, 2017 at 10:33 p.m. complaining, why are you calling me down to this crawl space? Why don't I have a bigger house? Like, why do I have to find a secret place to pray in my crawl space? I bet you other people in Bozeman don't crawl into their crawl space and sit in the dark with their big puffy coat on and a stocking cap in the middle of November and December and freeze in the basement and feeling silly in their crawl space. They probably have extra rooms in their houses and they can sit in there comfortably and sip tea in front of a fireplace. All the insecurity and the complaining and the questions and the confusion, that God just patiently sat with me and waited for all of that to fall to the wayside. But that in this space, that being in the crawl space, crawling first, has invited me into a space of how to walk with God more effectively by his Spirit, and then to be able to run with perseverance the race marked out for me. In this season, though, I'm moving from a crawl space to a house that I own that is slab on grade. It does not have a crawl space. And so it's so beautiful to see God ministering to me, to call me to this crawl space, to call me to this place where I had to humble myself before him. And that in that space, then, that he was able to lift me up and to set me in a spacious place just because he delights in me. The process of moving into that space, that his grace has been so evident in providing the finances, the provision to buy the house, to even the ability to find the place and to find it in this community, in this market, and be able to purchase it. And so seeing his grace to me, to call me to the crawl space so that I could learn to walk with him by the Spirit, and then to be able to run with perseverance. The race marked out for me has been so beautiful. Grace upon grace upon grace, that just previous to moving over, that I hurt my back on July 23rd and have been in a lot of pain and didn't have the capacity to be able to move myself from this space to my new space, but that I've had the blessing of loving community who have come around me in my weakness to truly pick up my family and to carry me on arms of love and to set me in my new house. And so again, celebrations of God's goodness in that not only did he provide a space for me that I can fall into his provision and rest, that he started the good work and he's going to complete it, that I can rest in what he's given me, that he brings increase with no added suffering. Not only did he provide it for me, but he provided community that picked me up and set me in this new space. And I didn't have to lift a finger, that I was surrounded by love. It has been grace upon grace upon grace upon manifest grace of my Father's goodness. I'll drag David into this extra of my ordinary in this video too, that on Sunday, the day after we moved into our new house, that David spoke on Sunday and taught on the prophet Elijah. I know a lot of people say, Pastor, I feel like that message was right to me. I feel like you were speaking to me. But not only did David speak the message directly to me, he used my name in his sermon. David spoke on the prophet Elijah and how the Lord manifest himself in great ways, and that there was this mighty outpouring of God's favor upon Elijah to demonstrate that he was God. But then after that, then Elijah fell down and he got depressed, and God empowered him to go to the cave, and Elijah was hiding in his cave in the darkness, hitting his head on things and complaining and yelling at God. And God's saying, Elijah, what are you doing here? And my experience here in this crawl space, starting on November 7th, 2017, 10:33 p.m., that I was in this space because God told me to be here. And when he said, Elijah, what are you doing here? I said, bro, I don't know. That's on you. You called me here. How about you tell me what I'm doing here? But that in the stillness of this space, that God's whispers, his invitations, that whispering is the language of intimacy, that he came to me here in the darkness and the quietness of this cave, this crawl space, and that he began to ask me, Elijah, what are you doing here? And that my heart found this gentleness and this surrender with God to entrust to him the honest contents of my heart. And I didn't change anything about what I was saying. That I said, I don't know. You called me here and I'm here, but I'm really confused. But that in the quietness and the gentleness of God, that he invited me to come and to stand before him, to receive purpose, to receive a charge, to know what to do once I came out of the crawl space of this house, how to proceed, what to do, who to pursue. And it was so beautiful that on the day of my transition into my new house, that then David declared a word to me that had my name in it. Elijah heard the voice of the Lord. Elijah received his purpose from God. That God strengthened Elijah out of rest. And to see that my wife in prayer with God while driving to work received from God that our new house would be a place of rest. And that my friend Dave prayed in my kitchen after having moved us and said, God, I pray that this would be a place of rest, 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 rest. So sitting here in the crawl space of my house, after having sat here with God for 1,371 days, 3 years, 9 months, 2 days, 118,454,400 seconds. To be able to look back and say, God, how on earth did you do that? Friends, it's not even the fullness of all that he has done. It's just the beginning of all that he has done. But to sit here in this crawl space for the last time, considering that I won't have access to this space anymore. That my greatest lesson has been and starting in confusion and starting in an attitude with God, and starting with digging my heels in and feeling silly and awkward and like I was wasting my time. Now sitting here at the end and seeing all of the provision, all of the goodness, everything that God has done. My only lesson that I've learned was that I wish I would have spent more time in this space. It's my only regret at the end of 3 years, 9 months, 2 days, 1,974,240 minutes of time. That my only regret is that I didn't spend more time here in this space. So my encouragement to you, my grace imparted to you from the foundations of everything that is true of our Father is throw yourself fully into his commands over your life. To listen to the still small voice that comes to you to invite you to stand in his presence. And that what he calls you to do, that you would give yourself to it fully, with abandon, with perseverance, with passion. And that you would not leave any blessing that he has for you undiscovered, unopened, unengaged. That in the faithfulness of my life, to engage God here in my crawl space, that his grace imparted to me to be so would be imparted to you in greater measure, that your joy could be more full, that his impartation of his person to you could be more complete, that you could come to know him more fully, that you could serve to please his heart, so that you could impart grace to others to know him more fully, and on it goes. Because this is the last time for me to be in my crawl space. That God has done his good work here, and in my new house that he has shut off my access to the crawl space. It's slab on grade, and it's time for me to run. And there's a provision for me so that I don't retreat back to my crawl space. He's closed the entrance. I can't go back. We've burned the boats. Whew, yeah. There ain't no going back now. No more crawl space for Elijah. And I'm excited into the abundant provision of the life that God has for me. And I'm excited But my invitation to you is that you wouldn't miss out on the fullness of everything that God has for you in the crawl space. So to all of you who are my extra, who have helped to lift me by the grace imparted to me through the grace that God has for you to impart to me, who have lifted me from a place of crawling with God in the darkness to walking with the Holy Spirit and the light that He brings, and the empowerment of the full energy of Christ that comes through His person, His presence, to run with perseverance the race marked out before me. I love you, fam. Thank you for imparting to me the grace that you have had for me. If you subscribe to what I am doing, then hit the button. Hit it and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content, which is coming soon. And if you loved this video, you didn't just like it, hit the thumbs down button. I pray blessings on your day. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video.